Hello, hello, all you wonderful listeners and watchers. I'm Sean Schoenmakers, the owner of Action Coach Dallas. This is the Business Spotlight series. At Action Coach, we're helping building help. We help build business owners, help business owners build their business. Goodness, I don't know why that's fumbling today, but helping business owners build and grow their businesses to really ultimately improve their lives. And so, in effort to do that, we like to do some of these podcasts to get some of the real stories from the real business people that are out there doing the business ownership and making great things happen. So today, we're happy to have Veena. Veena, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
Yeah,
How are you?
awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm doing fantastic. So Veena Somareddy is our guest today, and she's the owner of Neuro Rehab VR. And so she's going to tell us some of the details about what they do and their journey and how they are having various degrees of success. And so we're interested to hear some of those details and looking forward to chatting more with you, Veena, about that. And so if it's your first time on the channel, your first time watching the show or watching the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, get notifications, all that kind of stuff, so that you can see more of the conversations that we drop in as these continual videos and podcasts occur. So, without further ado, Lena, can you tell us, maybe could you introduce us to your company and could you tell us the problems you solve?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Uh, so I can give a quick overview about myself and also the company so we understand the problems that we solve. So I'm the CEO of Neuro Rehab VR. Started this company about 6 years ago inside a neurological recovery clinic. And I come from a computer science, game design development background, so nothing related to healthcare. I had to learn everything as we go. And but I knew that I wanted to create a product to help people. That was just the impetus of what I wanted to do next. So I was still in school working on my PhD. I received an email from a person in Fort Worth, and I was in Dallas, that they wanted to add virtual reality therapy for the patients at their clinic. So I was like, this sounds great. I can build these therapy exercises, and that's how the company started. So what do we do at Neuro Rehab VR? We have a platform called the Smart Therapy Solution. So it combines immersive virtual reality with AI to really revolutionize what we can do with rehabilitation. And rehab has been, hasn't really changed the last 60 years. They use Bosu balls, you have these
Mhm.
expanding bands that you would use. There's not a lot of technology, but that's what we wanted to change. So one is patient motivation and engagement is a huge issue, especially with older adults. Everybody goes into physical therapy. They don't really want to do physical therapy when they go in. They because you go in because your caretakers are telling you, family members say that you need to do it. So with our therapy exercises, it's immersive. You're in different scenarios. Maybe you're on the beach one day, working on your therapy, or in a retail store, grocery shopping, but we're working on those functional tasks and goals at the same time. You can get real-time feedback, haptic, visual, and also audio feedback, really boosting that therapy engagement and experience. And the next part is therapist efficiency. As you know, during COVID, there has been a lot of stress on the healthcare system. There are less clinicians than the number of people that need to be taken care of. If anybody has heard the stat, number of people turning 65 and older is growing faster than the US population. Almost 30% of the US population will be 65 and older by like 2035, which is, a lot of stress on the healthcare system. So one, therapists have to creatively think about how do they engage and motivate their patient during the therapy session, get to those functional outcomes that Medicare and CMS are looking for, and also write documentation at the same time. It's a lot to take on. So one of the things that we do is also automate therapy, no documentation, so they don't have to think about writing it. One of the things our device does, it collects data on the functional movements, kinematic movement data, and then create the notes right after. So we're helping with patient motivation, therapist efficiency, and giving data-driven outcomes for our hospitals and clinics.
Very cool. Sounds useful for both sides of the equation there.
Hmm.
The patients that are doing the therapy as well as the businesses or the hospitals and so forth
Right.
that are using it. So I know I had a short bout with physical therapy um, and had some vertigo, pretty bad
Oh
vertigo
wow.
for, and
Okay.
I didn't really know why, and but it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
go away. So I was like, hey, that doesn't seem normal. Ended up getting recommended to go do physical therapy for vertigo, and I was like, that sounds really odd. And so, but anyways, when I went, I was shocked and amazed at how one therapy session ended up like
Mm-hmm.
90% curing the issue.
Right.
So anyways, I know therapy is obviously super useful. Maybe we're not always, like you said, interested in, maybe going and doing it. It'd be nice if I
Right.
could do that on the beach, like you said. So,
Right. Exactly.
be a nice
And
little change of scene. Yeah.
And adding to that, vestibular therapy is something that we are working on too. We actually received a contract with the Air Force last year to work on spatial disorientation for pilots working, flying these high G environments in F-15s and F-35s. Sometimes there's spatial disorientation where they turn and bank. They won't know if they're going up or down, which is a very, dangerous problem to have. So we're working on that
Yes.
vestibular therapy issues too. And as vestibular therapists are amazing. They can make you dizzy in just by moving their finger. If that
Uh-huh.
happened to you, that's how they know what's happening, and they will
Yeah.
be able to fix if it's an inner ear issue. So therapy really works for that.
Yeah, I was completely unknowing of the vestibular area in the ear, or the head and
The
things
inner
like
ear.
that. So
Hmm.
obviously got educated once I realized that's what was going on. But anyway, yeah, the results you can get from, I mean, physical therapy in a lot of ways is pretty amazing.
Right.
So super useful. But like you said, not everyone is always that interested in going and checking it out. I was definitely skeptical, but when I was
Hmm.
walking in there, but hey, it turned out
Right.
to be amazing. So good stuff. Yeah, sounds like it's really, like I said, useful on both sides of the equation. So let's chat. You kind of mentioned starting the company, but maybe give us some more detail. How and why did you end up
Hmm.
starting this company?
Yeah, definitely. While I was working on my PhD at UT Dallas, I knew that at one point, like I said, I wanted to create a product that I can, that can help people. So that was the impetus of everything. So I took a few business courses, even though I was on the game design. My course was in my major was in game design, but understood how people think about companies and creating business models, financials, all of those things. So I just started to build, you know MVPs for other people's ideas. And I realized and at one point it was not really going anywhere when I was just a technical person building things, but you still have sales and marketing and everything for a company to actually happen. So that's when I was like, I want to start my own company at some point, and had the random email that I received and just started to build these therapy exercises. And then the first therapy exercises that we built, it was a walking application where the patient is able to walk in a really serene environment, picking up coins as they're going through the environment, but it's gamified. So they're really engaged, they're motivated, and we work with a lot of complex patients that have had strokes, brain injuries, spinal cord injuries. So these are complex patients with other comorbidities. But when they put on the headset, there's such a huge difference. They were engaged, they were happy, they were motivated. And a lot of our patients said that they're having fun while doing therapy, because you don't hear fun
Yeah,
and therapy in the same sentence most of the time. So that I knew
right.
that there was a difference here. That's when I did drop out of my PhD
Mhm.
and then kind of started to do this full time, built a company. And now we're in 35 different states across the US. We work with large healthcare systems like MD Anderson, Atrium, LifePoint, and we're really helping their patients, get to those outcomes.
Yeah, it's awesome. I know my stint was short, but my mom actually went through weeks, maybe months of therapy for a leg issue that she had. And yeah, it definitely feels more like work when you have to do
Right,
it day in and day out.
right.
And if it's gamified, or something that makes it a little more interesting, then I'm sure you guys get, help
That's true.
patients get better
And as
results
you
for
know,
sure.
compliance is very low in this industry because people don't want to go back to therapy because they might feel like they're not progressing. With the data that we provide, they can see quantitative data, even if it's small progress, you can still see it. So that's very motivating. And
Yes.
the statistics out there is about only 30% of patients overall actually go back and finish all of their therapy sessions. So 70% of people don't actually go back to therapy and, complete it, which leads them to not fully getting to that optimal level of function that they can. Yeah, which can affect their whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, I feel like when you go to therapy, many times the therapists will give you homework, or they'll give you things you can
Hmm.
do, at the
Right.
home, which is great. But like most human
Right.
beings, you don't usually do it unless you kind of have to,
Right.
or if you have someone that's there kind of walking you through it. So So I agree. I think having the data or being able to see the progress again just makes you feel like you're going to a destination
Yep,
versus you know
exactly.
versus continual.
Subjective versus, yeah, seeing
Yeah,
quantitative data.
yeah, that's cool. And so you mentioned working with the different clinics and hospitals, things like that. So who primarily do you serve? Like if I'm in the audience
Mhm.
watching, how do I know if I'm a good fit
Yeah,
for
so
your
we
product?
work with a lot of neurodiagnosis patients who have, like I said, strokes, brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, Parkinson's, MS, a lot of neuro patients. We work with a few pediatric patients that have had ADHD, spinal cord injuries, cerebral palsy too. So that's the patient population. But our customers are large health systems, as I mentioned, hospitals, and we work with the VA too, and then skilled nursing facilities are our base of customers. We also have some contracts with universities and colleges that have reached out to us and they want to add virtual reality as part of their curriculum in for their students so that they can learn about this new standard of therapy that which the APTA and AOTA, which is the American Association of Physical Therapy and Occupational Therapy, have recognized as a modality for therapy.
Cool. So what are the positions in those, like
Oh
who
yeah,
in the
right.
hospital?
Yeah, right.
Like,
It's the physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists are the ones that mostly utilize our solution with the patients.
okay. And then like, what about in the universities?
In the university, it's mostly professors. They add it as part of their labs,
Okay.
and then also as a teaching tool.
Okay. So you're specifically chatting with the professors about like using it in the university?
Yes, yeah. It's
Okay.
mostly been inbound leads for us at this
Yeah.
point, because that's something that we haven't really concentrated on, but we get a lot
Yeah.
of inbound leads. But we do outbound for hospitals and skilled nursing facilities and outpatient
Cool.
clinics. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Tell you, it's starting to spread like wildfire, Vina. So good for you
I hope
guys.
so. Right?
So like obviously the product sounds unique. I mean, I hadn't really
Mhm.
heard of it until we chatted. But what I guess are there any other ways like what makes your business unique? Why
Mhm.
would hospitals or why would customers choose you versus other options?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the biggest differentiation is we started inside a clinic. The company started inside a clinic, so we had access to patients and therapists day in and day out. That if we build something, we give it to them, we get feedback right away as to some what's working and what's not. So that helped us build a product that's really easy to use, has like less than 30 seconds setup time because clinicians are busy people and you can't have even more than a minute of setup time with the patient. It has to be, just go, click a button and go. That's how
Yeah.
easy we're made. And then virtual reality, as you know, when they come in, they have this inhibition about it's this is a piece of equipment, it's virtual reality, it could be complex, and our biggest thing is making it easy to use. And then nobody else out there has automated generation of therapy notes right after the completion of the session itself. So that really helps with making sure that they have all the information that they need to receive reimbursement for what we have done. And we put a lot of effort into when we are building a therapy exercise, right? We do literature review on what works, what does not work, what's out there, and the features that we add is very specific to some patients. For example, stroke patients, they might not have fine motor skills, so we really don't have to press any buttons on the controller that we have for the headset. If they're not able to fully extend the hand, that's all right. Our software actually recognizes that and makes, items come towards them. So we have a lot of these features that are very specific to the patient population that we work with that it goes much deeper than just a gamified exercise.
Yeah. So it sounds like your product is just superior.
It
It's
is
just
very
better.
superior. Yeah. We've
Yeah.
been told that
Right.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Compared to
Cool.
everything else.
You can just say it, Vina. It's all right. I'll say
Yeah.
it for you. The product is
Thank
just
you.
superior. No, yeah, but you guys have obviously, like you said, you got feedback. I mean, and quick, like you said, quick feedback, which helps you make all the tweaks and things that much faster, which means you can go to the next iteration that much faster. So it sounds like
Mhm.
you've done it on purpose, and it sounds like it's yielded some good
And
results.
it's
So
continuous, it never ends, right? So our roadmap is pretty much created by our customers right now as to what we're building next. We get feedback from them. And if we hear the same thing more than, 3 to 4 times, we kind of add that in. That's how our driving simulator came about. We have a driving sim as part of our exercise so patients can work on reaction times without being on the road actually, like after a stroke incident.
Yeah, one of our clients is building out some software for one of his businesses, and it's funny because you think, oh, you pay designers and they design it, but it never stops. Like you said, it never stops. Like
Hmm.
they
Right.
design, but then they keep designing. Obviously, continuous improvement, things like that,
Right.
and you're continually getting feedback, like you said, to make the next better version. So
Right.
good for yeah, ongoingly improving it. So it's good stuff.
Hmm.
So from a marketing perspective, you mentioned working with different types of customers. You
Hmm.
mentioned kind of why they choose you. You mentioned you're getting some inbound stuff. You guys sounds like you do have some outbound things as well, marketing wise. What's been the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most business so far?
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? With marketing, yeah, you'll have to like also track it. We're starting to, really track how we are receiving these inbound leads. But our biggest ones have been trade shows for us because the
Okay.
hands-on experience with touching our, device and actually using it makes a much larger difference than just seeing it on a 2D screen because there's a 3D virtual world around you. So, trade shows like APT, which is American Physical Therapy, the American Occupational Therapy organizations have been the biggest for us to create that buzz and then them sharing. But we've also done a few campaigns on for how we can increase therapist efficiency, decrease the amount of pain for patients so that these marketing campaigns that are very targeted and very specific and to that physical therapist or occupational therapist those have brought in some really good leads for us. And
Yeah.
we also have a lot of educational content out there because what we are trying to do is virtual reality, which feels like a novel technology in healthcare, which is mostly not that technologically forward when you think about the rest of the industry, but it's getting better. So we have to educate and sell at the same time. It's not the easiest way to do this. So we've been working on a lot of education. We have a foundational course, we have a certified user course that's out there so that they can learn about it, and then we get some leads through that too.
Yeah, okay, cool. And yeah, the edu selling through education, I think, is a good way to sell. I feel like that's a lot of what we do as business coaches. They don't Most people
Right.
are like, so what do you do as a business coach? No one really knows. So and we're in theory we've been around, well, not in theory, in actual we've been around a lot longer than virtual reality. So yeah, selling,
Hmm.
I think by education is a good way. Like you said, you guys are starting to see that that's generating some leads and so forth. So um and the what was the other thing you mentioned? Oh,
Campaigns
trade
or
shows.
trade
Yeah,
shows,
no,
yeah. Hmm.
trade shows. Yeah, and that's it's interesting too because I feel like there's a lot of businesses that don't do trade shows. That it's not maybe a strategy that's commonly used, but with
Hmm.
yours, because like you said, it's almost basically experiencing it helps
Right.
people better
Understand it
understand it.
better.
Which hey, great now, hey, that's interesting, or hey, I think that would work in my situation kind of scenario.
Right.
So that's cool. Yeah,
And then also to see how easy it is to use because that's important, which really doesn't come through when you're doing a demo, virtually.
yeah, yeah. No, it's good. Good stuff. What else do I have for you, questions wise? So, if you look back on your journey through the business so far, what would you say has been the most memorable or maybe the hardest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think in the beginning we had to make a decision on if the product categorization, if we have to go through the FDA process or not go through the FDA process, especially when it's a novel technology like virtual reality. But we decided to go through the FDA process, so we are a class 2 device right now, which was a long road. And as I said, I come from a technical background, the computer science, game design background, but nothing related to healthcare, so had no clue how to go through the FDA process at that point. And in the beginning, we didn't have the funds to like really bring on a consultant to help with this process. So one of the things that I did is I just put through all of the FDA documentation for a software as a medical device, learned about it, and then got our device through the FDA registration process, which was a lot of learning, but it was probably the hardest thing that I've done. But now but in the long run, it made a lot of sense because about 5 years later, in 2023, Medicare actually came out with a reimbursement code for
Hmm.
virtual reality. So that we didn't even know that was going to happen back then, but taking that pathway, even though it was longer, it took us longer to get to market, more work, and we're FDA regulated, so the FDA can come and audit us at any time. So
Yeah.
it was a big decision, but it's helping us out now because now that there is a code for virtual reality and only FDA approved devices can be built using that code.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like this is a common scenario where the thing, anything that takes longer or is harder to do, typically works out better down the road. Like
But
usually there's a higher upside further down the future. So
but the decision is difficult when you don't know if it's going to help or not because
yes,
in
yeah,
at that moment it is not. It's taking us longer to get to
yeah.
market.
So
We have all of
so
these regulations to follow. Yeah.
so not knowing, right? How did we? What
Right.
made you decide? Hey, look, let's go do it.
Especially because we knew we wanted to sell to health systems and hospitals, not just outpatient clinics that may not care too much about the FDA regulation piece, the hospitals do.
Mhm.
And we wanted to we didn't want to have a market that we cannot touch, right?
Okay.
We wanted to
Yeah.
have a broader market. So that was one of the impetus to do it. There are a few companies out there that have not gone through the FDA process where it'd be harder for them to sell into hospital systems because, yeah, they only don't look at non-FDA products most of the time.
Gotcha. Cool. Good decision. Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So what about team is an important thing. It's
Yeah.
allows us to service a lot more people, having a good team, things like that, and serve them well. What's been your biggest learning as an employer since you began?
So many learnings, but I'll try to talk about a couple of them. I think as a leader, you have a vision and you have what you want to work on, but you think the rest of your team also knows about it, and I would say that's usually not the case. So making sure that your team is also bought into the vision and making sure you're doing the work to so that they understand where you're going. We have a lot of people on our team, at least almost everybody that works on our team work with us because they want to help people and they see, especially with on the development side of things, they understand, even though they don't have, that much interaction with our customers, but they understand that everything that they're building is helping a person and making sure that that always been my vision and kind of bringing in people that understand it, but also having strategy calls. One of the things that we started to do, we brought on a chief strategy officer a few months ago, and we started to do these strategy calls every week that really helped bring everybody on the business team, bring in the problem, and everybody chimes in. So as a leader, again, you don't have to solve all the problems, you don't have to have all the ideas, and that's how that was my notion previously. And then I realized like everybody on the team can contribute. And then now because they contributed to it, they feel that ownership on that idea to actually execute it afterwards. So now we're giving them ownership. So now you have more people that are motivated and engaged and have working on their own ideas and taking it. And obviously we'll have guardrails around the ownership piece to making sure that it's being tracked. And then the thing is trust, but verify that things are getting done. So kind of bringing in the whole team, making sure we're all going in the right direction, but also making sure we have uh, data and it's data driven. We are capturing all the data and to make sure that we have these are the goals and how far are we from a goal. And we do that every quarter.
Yeah, you're
That's
like
been the biggest part.
you're preaching it. I love all these things, right? You said trust but verify. Big fan of that. Usually you can verify with data as you guys are
Hmm.
collecting, so it's less subjective, more objective.
Right.
And you said giving the team, well, sharing the vision, but then giving them some ownership, which of course makes them, well, humans like autonomy. So
Right.
great, they
Exactly.
have ownership, so now they can hopefully have some amount of autonomy. And of course, they'll likely give it a little bit more effort when they feel like it's theirs. So yeah, good
Hmm.
stuff. A lot of good things there with the team. And what would you do different if you started over today, just knowing what you know or what you've learned so far in your journey? How, if you started over the whole thing today, what would you do different?
I keep thinking about this because this was my first company that I've, gone forward, with and has had the longest legs because like I said, I used to build MVPs for other people's ideas and I didn't really see it go anywhere. Then I decided like I will be the CEO or, run the business and we are here right now. So had a lot of learnings along the way. And sometimes, you feel like everything is your mistake when, some things are not happening, but sometimes it's also the market. The healthcare market is slower than usual. than any other markets. And for them, there's a lot of trust building that needs to happen before they kind of engage with you. So now we have a reputation within the industry. People know about us and they've heard about us from others. So it's much easier to make those sales. But previously, one thing that I tell myself, I could be just nicer to myself and not be
Mhm.
bogged down by this is all my mistake that things are not happening. But then, it was more of how quickly the market will move and how quickly you want to move. So that's one of them. And then as we are kind of going through, like I said, working with the team, making sure they understand the vision. It's not just it's all in your head. Make sure that it's all on documents. People can see it too. So, team management. And then when it comes to a product, we did a lot of changes in the last couple of years to increase we call it the quality of experience of our product. So it's, like I said, it's a click of a button and it's easy to use. And we saw like a drastic increase in the amount of usage of our therapy exercises as soon as we made it stupid easy to use. And we put a lot of effort into it. Instead of adding more and more therapy exercises and increasing the number of exercises you can have, we kind of concentrated on let's make it much easier. And we should have, I would say I would have done it much earlier if I
Okay.
knew about, yeah,
Yeah.
knew about it.
Is that the technical term? Stupid easy?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. It's stupid easy. We got it.
Right.
We're all set. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Obviously, we always talk about making it easy for your customers to buy. I wouldn't say that's
Hmm.
the people using it aren't necessarily buying, but obviously
Exactly.
if it's
Hmm.
easy for them to use, then hey, that feedback will come back to the customer or your customers,
Right.
and they'll probably want to buy it more. So that's cool.
And that is a hard problem too, because sometimes when the person buying it is not using it, but you
Yep.
have to convince the person that's buying it, the features and everything that we have is what they would care about, but the person using it would care about how easy to use. So you kind of have to balance both. And I think that's
Mhm.
something that we were trying to balance more on the who's buying it, so that add as many features as we can and then concentrate too much on
Yes.
the usage. And then we kind of shifted that model. And I feel like that's worked out better for us in the end. Like just give it to your clinicians. If they use it, buy it, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that. I used to work at Raytheon many years ago,
Oh, nice.
and we had the scenario where we would have, in theory, the government's buying the product, but the users are the people like the Air Force or like the guys that are actually using it in the field. So, you think you're creating it and designing it the way you want the what the buyer wants, but then the end user says, "Hey, but that's not what we like or that's not what we want." And it's like, oh yeah, there's kind of two buyers in a
Right,
sense. So,
exactly.
but if you're ignoring any one of them, it's probably not good. So,
And in our scenario,
um,
you also have the patient that needs to
yes.
like it. Yeah, even if they're not,
Yeah.
buying it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Mm.
so good to take, all those different things into account. Let's see. What's the next goal or milestone for you? Obviously, guys, sounds like you've made some inroads. You've gotten into hospitals and clinics and things like that. What's the next big goal for you guys or for
Yeah,
you?
definitely. We obviously have big goals for this year and the coming years. We're in about 33 different states. We have, hundreds of headsets that are out there. We want to get them to the thousands of headsets out there phase. That's what we want to get into. And then, double our the number of sales that we're doing right now. But I think the biggest part is we see the amount of difference that virtual reality and immersive therapy exercises is the benefits that the patients are having when it comes to outcomes for them. Decreasing in fall risk, decreasing their pain while going to therapy, and actually getting to the functional goals that they were wanted. Because for a lot of patients like independence is important because once you have a stroke incident or anything else, your independence is stripped away from you. And for a lot of them, that is their biggest goal. And with our device, you can get to those outcomes faster. And when you're discharged from a hospital, you're closer to independence than you might not be otherwise. So we are really excited of making this the standard of care within all settings because of what it can add for the patients and also the therapist efficiency and overall for the healthcare system increase that operational efficiency because as I said the healthcare system is really stressed and if we can take away therapy documentation writing from clinicians we can show them quantitative outputs because Medicare requires quantitative data to show that your patients are actually reaching their goals, and also that patient experience, making sure that patients are actually having a good experience when they do therapy. So we're able to hit on all of this. So our goal is to like make this the standard of care going forward so that everybody can experience it.
Nice. So if I'm watching this and I'm like, man, I want a physical therapy practice that uses virtual reality, or
Mhm.
I want to go to a clinic or whatever that has this. Do you just Google? I mean, is that how someone would? Do you know how someone would find it?
So yeah, right now we don't have the facilities that we are in out there. That's something that we've been thinking about adding to our partners page. But they can contact us at neurorehabvr.com. There's a connect page inquiry form, and you can ask us where we are. So if you're trying to go to a clinic that has our smart therapy solution, you can do it. And then for physical therapists, occupational therapists out there, we do have educational products. You can sign up for our foundational course to kind of understand the efficacy of virtual reality and what's the benefits of it.
Okay, cool. Nice. So you may have just answered my next question, but how, if someone wants to learn more about your
Yes.
company or maybe get in touch, get in contact, how would they do that?
Definitely, you can go to neurorehabvr.com. We have a virtual demonstration request form out there and a connect page inquiry form. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I'm forgetting one. One more,
One of
Twitter,
the
yeah,
social
X, one
medias.
of the
Okay,
social medias. It's
X.
all Neuro
Yeah,
Rehab VR and all of those. We also have our own podcast too. You can find it on Neuro Rehab VR podcast on YouTube or Spotify or any other podcast that you listen to. You can listen to our customers directly tell you about how they're using virtual reality at their location and how they're benefiting from it.
cool. And so, last question, any special offers you'd like to offer any listeners?
Sure. I mean, if there are PTs and OTs that are listening to this podcast, we can give you a free code if you just come to our website and tell us that you heard about us on the Action Coach with Sean. I'm not saying his last name because I will mess it up. Tell us,
It's all
and we will
good.
give you a code for the next foundational course that we have. We'll give it to you for free.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. Well, Veena, thanks a bunch for being on and sharing some of the details about your company and your journey and all the good stuff. And we appreciate you being on. Until next time, we'll wish the rest of the audience and listeners a good rest of the week.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one.